Okay, I've been wanting to do this video because, well, first of all, I got the game, as you know, Icarus Uprising. And there's some good and some extremely bad downside. Only really one bad downside that can actually hurt the game pretty fucking badly. I'll get to that in a minute. I think most of you already know what it is. But anyways, as far as all the elements that go into the game, the story is actually pretty good. It's just a ridiculous story with insane amounts of humor. It's pretty much, there really isn't much of a story, but you really don't care because this is a kind of Kid Icarus knows that it's a ridiculous story, and it just went out there and said, "Okay, we have no story. We're going to go with the ridiculous story." So there you go, and it worked. It actually worked, and the graphics are extremely well done for a 3DS game. Even we all know the 3DS isn't really that spectacular on graphics, but its graphics are really, really, really good. And then comes along its internet play, as well as its customizations and all that. And I have to say, it's extremely well done. Again, I mean, I can't believe that Nintendo just came out with this. Then they got this whole crafting system as well as item situation, which goes a lot like the Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword and the games that were in that Operation Rainfall, especially with Xenoblade Chronicles. Now, I don't really like the role playing stuff, but from what I'm hearing, all the games in the Operation Rainfall have been all critically acclaimed, as well as Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword, mainly because of its fact that if you don't take care of your weapons and don't get them repaired, and it will pretty much be destroyed. And I know a lot of you are like, well, that's all just Japanese RPGs like Final Fantasy. I think Final Fantasy was extremely different, especially with that online game, which everybody hates the Final Fantasy lines and most of the JRPGs that have been coming out lately. It's only the Project Rainfall and the Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword that's been getting top billings in the JRPGs, and in some cases being called one of the best JRPGs are out there. And kind of an odd thing, we kind of have that same crafting system in most of our games too. I mean, you got BioWare's Mass Effect and Dragon Age series, which kind of does almost the same thing, as well as the WoW system or World of Warcraft, and the BioWare, the Star Wars, the Old Republic, which pretty much all falls into the same kind of classing line. And unlike the traditional JRPG, which was, if I remember, and I'm mostly speaking of this as from memory, usually, how can I say this, was all either a lot of text and just not very fun. And that's what Final Fantasy went into. And a lot of people were complaining, the JRPG games were just falling into shit. So I kind of find it a little shocking. The people who actually got it right was mostly Nintendo, and yet everybody seems to want their blood for, the Nintendo Wii was just so weak. The Nintendo Wii was out of date before it was even out of date. Or, be Samuel Tech Geek. I hate Nintendo! Everything about them sucks! Look, Sam, I know you think that the Mario 3D Land was a rushed game, but yeah, it was rushed. But it's also a fun game, and that's usually what matters. It was a fun game, and I don't care if it was rushed. At least I'm not chanting the daily songs of "Die Nintendo, die!" I mean, they're the ones who actually got the game mechanics. The only Japanese company to get their game mechanics done right, except for Kid Icarus Uprising. I guess I've been holding off on this long enough and talking about nonsense, but yeah, the controls are shit. That's all I can really tell you. The game controls for Kid Icarus Uprising, despite the excellent graphics and the great utilization, and her internet is just their internet play and matchmaking is just the best I've ever seen. But that gameplay, you have to take the stylus and use it as a aiming while you got the other thumb on your controller. Just not good. But all the other features they actually got right. I mean, seriously, it's like Nintendo is the one who's paying attention on what the hell all the other JRPs were getting wrong and actually filled in all those holes. And then started copying US games with the whole internet play instead of doing what, Sony's doing with their PlayStation 3. Yeah, the 3DS has better online play than the fucking PS3. And it's almost as good as other most online services. Of course, the 3DS also uses a gyroscope compared to the old-fashioned gyroscope, which is now cheap as hell to get and put in anything now. Unlike the overpriced Sony 6-axis controller, which is also in their PS Vita and severely broken for some fucking reason. But yeah, Kid Icarus, good game. Well, except for the gameplay features, but everything else they got right. I think it would have gone better if they just released it for the Wii U, using both thumbstick controllers. But beyond that, it really is a good game in the whole, except for the gameplay, which is an unfortunate downer of the whole good experience. And well, at least it's not Metroid Other M.